Sir, if you'd please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Sir, if you'd please start off by stating and spelling your full name for the record.
My name is Brandon Monson, Brandonmonson.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Brandon.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about yourself first.
Yes, sir.
Know who you are. How old are you?
I am 20 years old.
And where do you currently live?
Here in Cedar Rapids.
Do you have your own residence?
No, it's a host home. I don't know if you've ever heard of a HAB home, but it's kind of like that, but the staff actually live with you.
Okay.
And it's the staff member's house, basically.
Okay. How did you get lined up with that?
Through Four Oaks.
Is this some kind of housing then where you have staff there to help you with things?
Yes, I'm currently working on money management and cleanliness, like cleaning up my room and stuff.
And do you work for a living?
No, I do not.
How are you able to afford to live at this house?
I get it paid for through Medicaid.
How long have you been there?
Since the beginning of September. I want to say the 3rd.
Where were you living before that?
I was living with my grandpa down in Iowa City.
And then going back a little bit further than that, where were you living back in February of this year?
Half of the month of February, the first half, I was homeless. But on February 14th, I moved in with Taya Meyer in her apartment in Marion.
Do you remember the address of that apartment or what apartments they were?
I know the address.
Go ahead.
1790, or wait, no. 690 Bentley Drive in Marion, Iowa. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So you said you were living there with Taya Meyer?
Yes, I was.
And who's she?
She is a friend of a friend.
Besides Taya Meyer, were you living with anybody else at that address back in February?
Yes, but I couldn't really name those people off the top of my head.
How'd you meet Taya Meyer?
I met her through Logan Kimpton back in December of last year.
And so you're saying you know Logan Kimpton?
I do know Logan Kimpton, yes.
How do you know Logan Kimpton?
I met him through school back in 2016, towards the end of the year that year. And I didn't have very many friends, so I just made friends with whoever I could.
What school was that?
Polk Alternative.
Was that a high school then?
They have beginning of middle school through high school.
So while you attended Polk Alternative, that's where you met Logan Kimpton?
Yes, sir.
And as of February of 2024, was Logan Kimpton your friend?
At that point, he was, yes.
I'm going to ask you about a couple more people. Do you know somebody by the name of Dakota Van Patten?
I do.
How do you know him?
I know him through Logan. I didn't really consider him a friend, but I just knew of him, and I hung out with him a few times, but I wouldn't really consider him a friend.
So you hung out with him a few times. Does that mean that you would be able to, recognize him in person?
I would, yes.
And do you know the defendant in this case, McKinley Louisma?
Yes.
How do you know him?
I know him through Logan Kimpton.
What kind of prior interaction did you have with him?
He only gave me a ride from St. Luke's Hospital to Taya Meyer's apartment in February, and that is all I remember about him. I didn't talk with him much during that car ride. He just gave me a ride over there.
And do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, he is sitting right over there.
He's got the blue shirt on by his lawyers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. May the record reflect the witness identified the defendant, Your Honor?
It will.
What did you know the defendant as?
Just one of Logan's friends. I knew him. People call him Ken.
Now, this is a case involving the homicide and kidnapping allegations involving Melody Hoffman. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall being in a vehicle with Logan Kimpton, Taya Meyer, and another person on or about the night that Melody was kidnapped and killed?
I do recall, yes, sir.
And who was the other person, if you remember?
Dakota Cruz.
Do you remember what you guys were doing that night in the vehicle?
We were mudding out in Solon.
What's mudding?
Mudding is where you go off-road a whole bunch of mud and you try to kick it up with your truck.
Okay. Who was driving?
Dakota Cruz.
Was it his truck?
It was his truck.
Okay. And can you tell us, if you recall, where people were sitting in that car ride?
I was sitting in the rear passenger seat. Taya Meyer was sitting in the rear driver's side seat. Logan Kimpton was in the front passenger seat.
During that car ride, was Logan Kimpton talking openly about some plans that he had made with the defendant, Mr. Louisma and Mr. Van Patten?
Yes, sir, he was.
What did he say about the plans he had with those two?
He said that he had a plan to go murder someone and that it was going to be with the defendant, Ken, and Dakota Van Patten.
When he said that he had a plan to go murder someone with the defendant and Mr. Van Patten, did he tell you when that was supposed to happen?
He said it was supposed to happen that night.
Do you recall what, if anything, Mr. Kimpton said about how they were going to do this?
I do not recall.
When Mr. Kimpton said this, what was your thought?
I didn't know if he was joking or not because he has been known to joke around about killing people in the past.
After that car ride, where did you go?
We went back to Taya's apartment.
And when you went back to Taya's apartment, where you were staying at the time, what did you do?
I went to sleep.
Okay. Do you recall, as you sit here, approximately what time that would have been?
Between 3 and 5 a.m.
So you think you went to sleep when you got home around maybe 3 a.m. or so?
Yes.
Do you recall, while you were in the apartment that night and you got home and sleeping, do you recall Mr. Van Patten coming to the apartment?
I do not recall from my own memory of seeing him, but I remember Taya told me he was
okay.
there. Sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Monson. We just want you to talk about what you remember.
Sorry about that.
No, you're just answering the question. That's fine. So you don't recall seeing Mr. Van Patten?
No. But I do know he was there.
That's all I have, Judge.
Cross?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Monson.
Good afternoon.
Generally speaking, do you have problems with memory?
I do.
And we have talked to you about your memory of this truck ride with Logan Kimpton and some others. Do you recall giving a deposition in the summer?
I do recall that.
And we've talked to you about that car ride again here today, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as you walked into this courtroom, this courthouse today, did you even recall the specific detail that Logan had implicated McKinley Louisma and Dakota Van Patten with his statements?
I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember roughly about what I said.
And did someone have to refresh your memory of that particular detail today?
Someone did have to refresh my memory on that detail, yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. You were asked about whether you had memory problems, Mr. Monson,
Yes, sir, I did. I was.
and what